Welcome, folks. I see some familiar names. Hi, Randy. Welcome, everyone. Give folks a couple minutes to get in the room to find their links. See our friends at Northern Virginia Food Rescue.
Shout out to my Virginia people. Way to go. Glad you're here. Glad everybody's here, but
Yeah. Oh, you got to welcome your hometown
yeah.
friends for sure. Oops, geez. All right. See what I mean? I'm already accidentally switching slides.
You're just so excited.
I am.
It's a fun topic.
It is really exciting, actually.
Yeah.
Fundraising in general is fun. It helps us do what we do, but peer-to-peer is an exciting way to get people engaged in your mission in another way.
Absolutely.
Welcome, everyone. Small Things Philly. Hey, Philly. I grew up outside of Philly, so for me, that's kind of my hometown, even though I've been in Pittsburgh forever. Welcome, everyone. As you come in, drop your name and if you feel comfortable, where you're located and what organization you're with into the chat. Mostly so we can all say hi to our neighbors and our friends around the country. Welcome, everyone. Hi, Kristen. Welcome, everyone. Giving folks a chance to find their links and get logged on. Leaving that grace period for the folks that are like me and going to find their link at the last minute. I hope everyone has better weather than we have in Pittsburgh today. It is really gloomy.
The Shenandoah Valley in Virginia, and it's delightful. I feel bad saying that, but it's like 70 and mostly sunny. Sorry.
We discovered in our team meeting this week that Zoom, I don't know if it'll do it on a webinar, if you do the thumbs down,
There
it'll,
you go. Look at that.
well, what it does in not in a webinar is it makes it rain.
Oh, wow. No, I
Yeah.
haven't seen that. Okay.
We have
Okay.
remote employees and we like to play with that. You know, if you do
Yeah.
this, you get the lasers.
Nice.
So we discovered the rain yesterday. Oh, all of
Yep.
you, your sunshine.
It's, yeah. My favorite are when those reaction bubbles and all of that go off automatically, and then the person who made it happen kind of goes, "What?"
Yeah.
It's good times.
To Rosie Mercer, are you actually in Zambia or is that the name of your organization? Because that would be really cool. I mean, it's great no matter what, but all right, we'll give everybody another minute or so. As you're coming in, if you haven't already dropped your name and organization or location in the chat, please do so we can say hi to the folks that are here. It's so great to see everybody. We thank you for joining us again for another webinar. This one is very exciting. We have a guest speaker today, which is always fun. And our guest speaker today is James Golder from Bloomerang. And Bloomerang is the tool that we use. But what I really appreciate about you guys, aside from the fact that we do really like this tool, but You've got a lot of great webinars, and I know that our team has really enjoyed a lot of the learning that you folks have provided. And so we were really excited when we reached out to you and you agreed to talk a little bit about peer-to-peer fundraising, because I know you've got a lot of expertise in this area, and this is something that can be a really, really powerful tool for fundraising. So before we get started, I just want to take care of a few housekeeping notes. As we go, drop any questions that you have into the Q&A, which is on your little control bar, not into the chat, because sometimes the chat just goes really fast and we miss those questions. So it's super helpful if you can put your questions in the Q&A. We are recording this webinar. We will send it out afterwards within the next few days to everybody who registered, and then it's also will be available on our website. So if you miss something, don't panic. You can go back and watch it again or check out the part that you missed. And we will be providing some links at the end of the webinar, links to request a follow-up meeting, as well as to register for our next webinar and information about what's coming up with us. So with that, I am going to turn it over to James. Thank you so much for being here today, James.
Ben, hi everybody. I'm James Golder, and yeah, this is what we're going to talk about today: how to not only get those peer-to-peer donations in, but keep them engaged and keep them giving. So yeah, go ahead. Next slide is great. Thanks. Yeah, that's me. Everything I think on there is true. Yeah, that sounds all. Yeah, that's all right. 4 kids, 4 cats, and a dog, and it's too much. But the kids are responsible for the cats. So our youngest likes to foster kittens. We've had more come through and go find a new home than I can remember. And then we got to the last batch of them last year and fell in love, and foster failed 3 siblings. So yeah, it's a full house. And I do live in the Shenandoah Valley in Virginia. So I saw someone from Manassas. Yay. Always good to see Virginia people here. Next slide, if you would. Yeah. One of the things that that I wanted to talk about today is this idea around what happens when someone donates. So a lot of times when we think about donations, especially when it pertains to peer-to-peer gifts, we are thinking about, how do we get these people to donate? And I think that's perfectly valid, and we should spend a lot of time thinking how we're going to find those new people, get them excited, get them connected, get them engaged, get them to donate. But then what happens after that? So what happens during the giving experience? And then what happens as a follow-up after the gift is made? How are we continuing the conversation with them? Are we continuing the conversation with them? And so what we at Bloomerang have done is and by we, I mostly mean me, I've donated $25 to a lot of nonprofits across the US. And the reason that we decided to do this is we wanted to track all of that. So we wanted to see, what's the giving experience like? Is it easy to donate? Can I give in using a method of payment other than just credit cards? Can I leave a gift in honor or memory of someone? All kinds of questions up front, but then we also wanted to find out what happened afterwards. Because there's a feeling, particularly when it comes to peer-to-peer fundraising, I think, that they're kind of bonus gifts, that they're donations that people are making really to their friends or their coworkers or their family members. Yeah, they're getting to the organization, but really it's to those people that ask them to donate. And because of that, we think maybe they're not going to donate again. So maybe we're not going to spend a ton of time thinking about that and figuring out how to engage with them. But the fact of the matter is, the data, as we'll look at in a couple of minutes here, says that no, those people will donate to you again. They'll come back. We just need to do a good job of telling our story. We need to communicate with them, and we need to make sure that they feel like they're part of something bigger, because that's what donors want. They want to feel like they're part of something that's making an impact on their community and on their little slice of the world. And so if we can communicate all that to them, great, then they'll probably come back and donate again. So we're going to talk about event giving, peer-to-peer giving. We're going to talk about the giving experience itself, because we really do want to make that as easy as possible. So I'm going to spend a lot of time on that up front. And then we're going to transition and talk to some of those follow-up activities. What happens after the gift is made? So Please, 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 please. This is one of my favorite slides in this entire deck. Please make sure that everything is working the way that you want it to work. And so as over the last 18 months, as I've given those 500 donations, there were a number of times, more times than I care to remember, that I would go to an organization's website, find the donate now button. Okay, there it is, upper right-hand corner usually. Click on it. Okay, click on it again. No, it's not working. No, I can't donate to this organization because a link is broken or something like that. Something wasn't working the way that it was supposed to work. So please go give yourself a gift. Once you feel like you have everything up and running, you're good to go. You've got your peer-to-peer pages up. You're ready to launch this campaign. Let's go. Just go give yourself $10. Make sure that everything works the way that it's supposed to work. Make sure that the links are working. Make sure that you get that automated email properly, all of that stuff. Just double check it, make sure that it works, because the last thing you want to do is put a lot of time and effort and energy in getting people excited about a new campaign that you're running, but that donation process doesn't work the way that it's supposed to. If you would, Jen, thank you. So these are the 5 sort of buckets, if you will, that we studied and that we looked at when we gave those 500 gifts. We looked at the donation experience, as I've said, but then what happens after the gift is made, immediately after the gift is made. Where is the donor? Where is that landing page? Am I on your website? Am I on a third-party website? What information is on that page? Because that's really your first opportunity to retain that donor, to get them to come back and donate again. So are we taking that opportunity, or are we kind of sending the donor off somewhere else and letting them maybe possibly find their way back to us at some point? Then we looked at the receiving email. So that should go out automatically. No matter what platform you're using, your donor should get a receiving email in their inbox pretty much instantly, which is, again, one of the reasons to test all that, make sure that it works, because if that's not happening, then you need to talk to your provider and make sure that they get that fixed immediately. That's a very basic hurdle to jump over at this point. Then we also looked at the thank you process. So did I get thanked? Well, if I did, what was that process like? Was there a phone call? Was there a hard copy letter? Was there an email? What did that thank you process look like, and how did I feel as a donor after experiencing that? And then lastly, the follow-up activity. So that's looking at things that are designed to keep the donor engaged. So if we kind of think about this from the donor's perspective, we would say, okay, I just donated to this organization because my coworker asked me to. I got my receipt. I was thanked for the gift. Then what happens? Am I on a newsletter list at this point? Do I get invited to events? Maybe I'm invited to volunteer. What are the things that happen to keep that conversation going? So we're going to talk about all of that as we go today. On the next slide, we will see the importance of the things that we have here, the list that we have here when it comes to a peer-to-peer donation. So for the donation experience, especially for a peer-to-peer gift, we want this process to be as streamlined and easy as possible. So I always tell people I'm not a huge fan of shopping cart online donation forms. That may ring a bell with some of you. It's the idea there where you go in and you say, yeah, I'm gonna donate $25. And then it says, okay, you've put $25 in your shopping cart, and now I have to go check out. And that means I have to go click a bunch of other times before I get to even put my credit card number in. So that's a long, laborious process for someone that has a sort of a tenuous tie to your organization at that point, right? They're, again, as we've talked about, they're really kind of donating to their friend or their coworker or their family member. We want to make that streamlined. We don't want to ask them to click a whole bunch of times before they put their credit card number in. So before you launch your peer-to-peer campaign, go back and give yourself a gift and try, if you can, to look at it through the eyes of a brand new donor. Is it streamlined? Is it easy? And then what am I asking the donor to do? What kinds of decisions am I asking the donor to make? So for instance, am I asking them to cover the processing fees, or am I requiring them to cover the processing fees? Asking them to give a gift in honor or in memoriam of someone is a great idea for your standard online donation page. And it might be a good idea for your peer-to-peer online donation page, but it might also slow the process down. So if you're running a 5K, let's say, and you're asking people to talk to their network and get their friends and family and all of that to donate to them for you, uh, think through, is the 5K in memory of someone, or is there some element of that where that giving a gift in honor or in memory makes sense? If so, absolutely include it in there. If it's not a crucial part of the message that you're trying to put out there, maybe leave it off, because that can be something that slows that process down, and it very well might cause a couple of those donors just to not finish that donation. Same thing with giving the donor the option to designate the fund that their gift drops into. So lovely idea. I love this idea so much for your standard online donation form. It gives you such a valuable insight into what your donors are passionate about. So if instead of just general operating, I have the option to choose, and I can say, okay, I want my gift to go to this specific area, then you know what I care about. That means that on subsequent appeals to me, you can come back and say, hey, James, we know that you really care about this area, and we need your help in this area because here's what we're trying to do and here's where we're trying to go, and we need your help with that. That's awesome. That's a targeted message that will probably resonate with a lot of those people. Having said all of that, peer-to-peer donors tend to be first-time donors, right? They don't know a ton about the organization. They're just discovering what you do and who you are and all the wonderful areas that you impact and so on. Might be not a bad idea to skip that step. If you're able to, definitely consider throwing it on your regular general donation page, but for peer-to-peer, I'd say probably not if you can avoid it. I'm going to come back to the payment options, but before I do that, I also want to talk about the newsletter. So when I started at Bloomerang 10 years ago last Sunday, time flies. The whole idea behind asking people to opt in to your newsletter was just beginning to gain steam. And a lot of organizations were saying, yeah, this is great. If someone's donating to us, we'll include like a little checkbox or something. They can click that and then they'll be part of our newsletter group. Things have progressed a lot since then. And at this point, it's most of the industry experts that we talk to say that if they are donating to you, they're opting in. So in that vein, in that spirit of we want to keep things moving along, we want to let the donors get in there and do what they need to do quickly, I would say let's not include that as an option. So the idea there again is to just keep it moving along, and that's another thing that can slow them down potentially. Okay, so let's talk about payment options other than credit card. This is so important. Jen and I were talking a few minutes ago before we started this, and I mentioned I'm going to be in Atlanta in a month, and I'm going to be in, I don't even know, y'all. I'm going all over the place in April and May. It's crazy. Pittsburgh. I'm going to be in Pittsburgh. We were talking about Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
How could you forget?
Sorry. So going to be all over the place because I go to a lot of conferences. And that's a big part of my job. And I love it. I love meeting people. I love meeting prospective Bloomerang users. I love meeting current Bloomerang users. It's awesome. It's a whole lot of fun. One of the most common questions, or even maybe topics of conversation that I get from people at these conferences is, hey, James, we really want to hit those Gen Z donors. How do we get more of them in the door? How do we reach out to them specifically? And how do we invite them to donate to us? And my first question back always is Venmo available as a method of payment on your online donation forms? Because if it's not, you're probably losing some of those donors right now. That is how they pay for things. I will not embarrass my kids, but I have 4 kids, 18 to 28. I know I look way too young for that. Thank you for everyone who said that. Really appreciate it. But I do. My kids are that perfect age. They send me Venmo requests all the time for taco money and pizza money and coffee and whatever. And my wife would tell you I reply back yes way too much to those things. But it is what it is. That's how they pay for things. That's how they operate. So if you're not offering Venmo, you're very potentially missing out on a whole group of people that might want to donate to you. The best story that I can give you is, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I see your kids' ages there, and that's, yeah, we're right there. So the best story I can give you is actually our second daughter. She's the gal right behind me in the picture there that somebody told me once gives Jackie O vibes. And I haven't told her that because she would never let that go. That would live with her for the rest of her life. So her name is Faith, and she graduated last year from the University of Virginia, and called me up one day and said, "Dad, I really want to donate to this organization off campus that I've been volunteering with, but I'm on their online donation form, and it says they accept credit cards, but I don't have a credit card. I only have a debit card, so I can't donate, right? I just wanted to make sure that I'm right about this, that I can't donate." I was like, "Oh, you're silly child. Of course you can donate. Just put your debit card in. You're fine. Ha, no big deal." But it got me thinking that if her dad, me, wasn't in this field and didn't know about all of that, she probably wouldn't have called me. She called me because this is what I do for a living. And without that knowledge and without that guidance, she probably wouldn't have donated to them. So they would have missed out. And I mean, I know my faith, and she wasn't going to give a $5,000 gift, but they probably would have missed out on 50 bucks or 100 bucks or whatever it would have been. And that's a shame. Whereas if that little Venmo logo is up there, you're good to go. They know that. Gen Z knows that. So sorry for the little tangent there, pulling it back to peer to peer. If you have the ability as you're running your peer to peer campaigns to allow donations to be made through Venmo, through Apple Pay, Google Wallet, any of those sort of digital wallet payment systems, please, please, please enable that if it's not enabled now. Really, really important. Okay, so now we're going to breeze through some of these because I already talked about some of this. Asking to cover the fees versus requiring your donors to cover the fees. What I mean by that when we say require is the little checkbox already clicked? So most systems now, whether you're using Bloomerang or something else, will allow your donors to say, sure, I'm going to donate $100 and there's $3 there that I can pay extra so that the full $100 will go to the organization. And a lot of donors will check that button. So if it's not checked, most studies that I have seen say that donors will check it around 80% of the time is what the studies I've seen say. So if you don't have that capability on your online donation form, you probably want to ask your provider, hey, is this something that we can talk about? Can you all add this to your roadmap? Or maybe you already have it and you just need to enable it for me. That would be great. But if you are not allowing your donors to do that, you're you almost certainly are missing out on a little bit of extra money there. But requiring them means that that little checkbox is pre-checked. So I go in and I donate, and as I scroll down, it's already checked. I have to click into it to not pay that fee. So a couple of things with this. Make sure that if the donors go in and uncheck that box, that it actually doesn't charge them. This goes back to go give yourself a donation, make sure everything works the way that it works. If that box is pre-checked, make sure that when you give yourself a gift that you uncheck it and then that it actually does take that off the final gift. Out of those 500 gifts that I gave, there were more than a couple of them where I unchecked the box and still got charged for some of that. So make certain that that's working the way that it's supposed to be working. And I know this slide doesn't say this, but the same thing is true with tips. There are a lot of the peer-to-peer fundraising platforms now that allow for donors to tip. Make sure, first of all, that your donors know that that goes to the software company. It doesn't go to you. There's a lot of confusion with that. So make sure that you're really clear with that on your website there somewhere. And also make sure that if someone says, no, I don't want to tip, I'm unchecking that box, that they don't end up getting charged for that. So be careful.
There we go. Just scrolling through slides willy-nilly. Sorry.
All good. No, you're good. Next slide is fine. Yeah. So we talked about this already. Please, please, please consider just having a conversation. If your current provider doesn't have this enabled on your form, go talk to them about it. They may be able to, like flip a switch or something behind the scenes and get it added. If it's not available, ask them when it's going to become available. And if they say, we're still talking about it, we'll get back to you. Bloomerang is great. Come take a look at us because it's all set up and ready to go.
I have a question for you. Somebody mentioned
Sure.
PayPal down below, and you don't have that on here. Is PayPal an old people service? Or is it analogous?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a good way to look at it. I don't think, I'm actually 90% sure that none of my kids realize that PayPal owns Venmo. They've heard of PayPal. They don't use it, but they do use Venmo. So PayPal's fine as a method of payment. Absolutely fine. Make sure that you also have Venmo enabled if you're able to.
Right. So they're not interchangeable, especially for young people. Got it.
Right, exactly. Yep, good question. Really good question. So we talked about this. I would say eliminate this. No need to do the fund and the tribute gifts there. Next slide, I think, is the email newsletter. Do I remember that? Oh, no, skip that. Sorry. Anyway, we talked about all of that before. So now we're going to talk about the landing page. Oh, actually, if you don't mind, Jen. Yep, you're good. The landing page is what happens after the gift is made. So my coworker puts something up on Facebook, let's say, and says, hey, I'm raising money for this food rescue org. Please donate. I'm really passionate about this, and we're going to run in a 5K or however it's set up. And I say, oh, I like Ann. I'll go and donate to this organization on Ann's behalf. Yeah, that sounds good. I click in. I go enter in all the giving information. I put in my credit card information, all that stuff. I hit submit. Then what happens? Am I on your website? Am I on your form vendor website? Where am I in a dead end? I've seen those happen where there's literally no links, no information. It's just a dead blank page. Like, what happens to your donors after the gift is made? That's what we want to think about. We want to try to keep it on our website if we can. That's the first sort of ideal way to think about it, because that frees us up to do a whole lot then, right? If we think about our websites, a lot of us probably have the navigation bars up top. We might have the ability to drop in some videos into those pages. Maybe we can drop in some links to volunteer activities, to upcoming events, to whatever other kind of information we want to share with people. And that allows people, if they want to dig in a little bit more deeply. So if I'm a brand new donor and I've just donated to you for the first time because my coworker, my friend Ann asked me to, that's a really good opportunity for me to dig in and find out more about what you do. What's your service area? How many folks do you help? So on and so forth. And then maybe get inspired and continue that conversation and maybe donate more, maybe decide to volunteer, definitely attend an event. That's definitely possible. A lot of your donors aren't going to do that, right? They came to donate, their friend asked them to donate, they came to donate, they put their information in, they're done, they've got other things to go to do, they're off and running. That's cool, no worries. But if you get a handful that want to explore a little bit more and dig in and find out what y'all are doing and the impact that you're making and all of that, that's awesome. Let's make sure we give them that opportunity. So again, perfect state on your website. If it's on a third-party website, can we at least put some links or something in there so that we can redirect people back to your website? That's not quite as good, but that's still a good possibility if we can add those links or videos or whatever it is in there. And then the worst state is where it's just a dead end. Oh, no, you're good, Jen. Because if we look at this one, kind of the upper right there, where it says, thanks for donating $25 to Boys and Girls Club of New Britain, that's a dead end PayPal page. So that was made through PayPal. That gift was made through PayPal. And I can't really do anything at that point as a donor. I have to consciously decide I want to go back to the organization's website, or I have to press back on my browser. And more than likely, most people are just going to, I don't know, go to Amazon or whatever they're going to do and shop or look around or whatever. So give them the option if you're able to. I love the message with the fund for the school district of Philadelphia. Saw someone from Philly here. So your school district, awesome. I really love this. This just makes me feel really good as a donor. Oh, I just did something amazing. That's cool. That gives me the warm fuzzies. So if we're able to personalize those and put some of those messages out there, again, drop in videos, drop in links, pictures, whatever we can do to make those donors feel good about themselves and what they just did, and also continue the conversation and engage with them. Let's do that. The more we can do that, the better. Let's go to the next. There we go. Oh, look at that. I even dropped in some a video there. And then I always like the pets at the bottom. It's cheating because, animal welfare organizations, they have really cute pictures that they can drop in. But think through if you all have some cool pictures that you can drop in, because those are engaging and it makes people smile. So the more you can do with that, the better. Okay. So now we're talking about the receiving email, right? This is the automated thing that gets sent to you generally within 30 seconds, maybe a minute or so after the gift is finalized. This is at its core, at the basic level, it is a receipt. So it should, at a minimum, have the donor name, the amount they donated, the date, and whatever other information you need or they need for tax purposes. But it can be a lot more than that. So we could say thank you, which would be awesome. That makes me feel appreciated as a donor. Unfortunately, with PayPal, I don't think you can customize it. And what ends up coming to the donor is really more of a like an invoice almost kind of thing. So it's very just stale. I don't think it says thank you anywhere in it because originally, of course, PayPal was designed more for some sort of like business transactions, eBay transactions, and stuff like that. So it doesn't say thank you. It just says this is the amount you paid. So if you can personalize that email receipt, please think about doing that. Think about all of the things I just talked about with the landing page. We could also do a lot of those on the receiving email. So again, if someone has donated for the first time, I'm going to keep going back with my friend Anne. Anne asked me to donate to you, and I decided, yes, I was going to do that. And I did. I went and donated, and then I saw your landing page. And then I said, I don't have time to look at that right now, so I'm going to click through because I got to do some stuff for work. But then a couple hours later, maybe I look in my email and there we go. There's your email receipt. Well, if there are links in that email, if there are videos, pictures, all of that, that's another opportunity for me to engage with you. Maybe that landing page a couple hours ago wasn't the right time, but a couple hours later, maybe I do have a couple of minutes and I can click on some of those volunteering links and learn more about volunteering opportunities or what your upcoming events are, or take me to your impact page on your website or anything like that. Because again, not everyone's going to do this. Realistically, probably not a lot of people are going to do this. But if you have just a few that will, that's amazing. It's a great opportunity for them to learn more and engage more. So think through what we can do with those receiving emails because they don't have to be only a receipt and they don't have to be bland and boring. We can spruce them up a little bit with a lot of the stuff that these platforms are doing these days. All right, so the thank you process. So this is one. I'm very passionate about this because I have to tell you, out of those 500 donations I've made over the last 18 months or so, something like that, there were a lot of them that I never got thanked for. The receiving email didn't say thank you. I never got a phone call, never got an email, never got a hard copy letter. I was not thanked for any of those gifts. And I'm not doing this out of some sort of, I need my ego stroked or anything like that, but your donors do want to be acknowledged that yes, we received this gift. Here's what we're going to do with it. We're going to look in a couple of slides here at some of the reasons why donors stop giving and then why they keep giving. And as you'll see with those survey results, they want to know that you received the gift and they want to know what you're going to do with it. So think through, what does your current thank you process look like right now? How quickly do we get thank you letters out the door if we're doing thank you letters? Can we send a thank you email above and beyond that receiving email? Doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, it probably shouldn't be complicated. Uh, what I've seen be really successful for thank you personalized emails is clearly just a copy and paste job. So somebody creates a draft and stores it and then goes in and copies it and then pastes it into a new email and subs in my name and maybe a couple of other things and then off it goes. It's not a long email. It's not a paragraph. It's just essentially says, hey, James, thanks so much for your recent gift. We really appreciate it. Hey, why'd you donate to us? Something like that is awesome. Short, sweet. I'm going to get that in my email. I'm going to go, oh, cool. Okay, they got my gift. They appreciate it. That's awesome. Great. If I want to engage and have a conversation with them about why I started giving, when I started to give, great. I can do that. So it's again, another avenue for people to explore that relationship with you. And then think about phone calls. We're going to talk, or I'll talk about phone calls now, actually, I think. Phone calls are, I know what a lot of you are thinking. You're already going, dude, I do not have time to do phone calls. I just don't. And I totally understand that. The ROI on phone calls is insane. So we'll talk about that a little bit as we go, but think about maybe, I don't know, can you get your board members to jump in and make some phone calls? Can you get other staff people to help? Maybe do a volunteer phone bank, something like that, because the ROI on phone calls is insane. So add them in if you can. Let's go to the next slide, if you don't mind, Jen. There you go. Here's one of the statistics right here. This one and then the next slide are both pretty eye-opening. 4 times more likely to give a second gift if there's a phone call. 4 times more likely to get a second gift if there's a phone call. Let's hit the next slide because that one talks about the size of the second gift. So the size of the second gift goes up 40%. So we at Bloomerang looked at this and we thought, really? Really? Kind of seems too good to be true, maybe a little bit. We kind of channeled our inner, for those of you who are my age, our inner Seth Meyers and Amy Poehler from Saturday Night Live and said, really? And we decided, hey, let's dig into it. Let's look at our data and see. We have a lot of users. What happens when people make phone calls? And we found that really good things happen when people make phone calls. These statistics are fairly accurate. The likelihood that they'll come back and donate again goes up, the size of the second gift goes up, and the speed of the second gift is cut in half. So you get the second gift faster, it's a higher second gift, and the likelihood that you get a second gift goes through the roof. So if you can, make those phone calls. It'll pay off for you. Let's go to the next slide. Yeah, and then the personalized thank you email. I talked about this already. Don't overthink this. I have seen personalized emails where they're clearly copying and pasting a small novel. Don't do that. Think about our continued inability to concentrate on things as we look at a YouTube video and it gets past 40 seconds and we go, I don't want to, no, I'm just going to go to the next one. People aren't going to read a novel. So think through what's quick and easy and simple and inviting. If we want to invite them to volunteer, let's put a mention of that in there along with a link. If we want to start a conversation, let's ask them a question, but keep it pretty simple. Those should be honestly something that takes you 10 seconds maybe to copy, change the name, send it on out. It's not a heavy lift at this point, and it really does resonate. I know, again, from experience, when I get those emails, it's just really nice. It's a nice personal one-on-one from the executive director, the development director, from someone that says, oh, okay, they're paying attention and they care. It's really nice. Add this one in if you're able to. And here's a couple of examples. You'll see the one on the left for Habitat. I included that one because it has a video, which I think is really cool, but it's a lot of text. So maybe more of an amalgamation of the other two with the video or something like that might work. But I really like the one that says, thank you for being a first-time donor. We appreciate your support. That's cool. Cool. I feel good about that one. And then I like the bottom one as well. Just wanted to see what spurred you to support our mission and if I could answer any questions for you. Again, most of your donors, particularly in a peer-to-peer campaign, are in the learning phase. They're probably not going to engage, but if you get 1 or 2 that do, amazing. Definitely give them the opportunity if you can. All right, so follow-up actions. So some of these might happen before the thank you processes that we were just talking about. A lot of them are probably going to happen after. I do want to put one caveat in, or what, not even a caveat, a note in. Please do not ask your donors for their next donation before you thank them for their current donation. A number of times, more times than I care to remember, I would make a gift, would not get thanked. I'd have my eye, I go to the mail every day. Oh, am I going to get a thank you letter? Nope, didn't get a thank you letter. And then I would get an email, sometimes even a hard copy appeal letter that said, hey, we really need your help. Didn't even say thanks for the last gift, just said, hey, we really need your help. Can you help us out with this big goal we have right now or whatever? Please don't do that. Please make sure that your current system allows you to filter out and say, oh, okay, we haven't thanked this group of people yet, so we are not going to send any appeal to them until we do. Make sure that those systems are in place. Okay, so what kind of follow-up actions were taken after the donation was made? So is there an email newsletter list? So do you have the capability to put your donors onto your email newsletter list once they've donated? Is that a seamless process? Does that involve, some sort of import, export activity, which takes up a lot of time? And quite honestly, when I talk to most nonprofits, they just end up not doing it very often. What do those processes look like? Because ideally you want it as easy as possible to start including those brand new donors, especially the peer-to-peer ones, into your ongoing monthly or quarterly or however often you send those newsletters out. Because again, the peer-to-peer folks don't know a lot about you. They've heard maybe a tiny little bit from their friend or coworker or whoever it was that says, hey, I really like this organization. I want your help supporting them. That's awesome. There's probably a little blurb there, right, that says something about impact and what you all do, but they don't have a lot of information. So the newsletter is a great way for them to start to learn more and more about what you all do. I love the second two bullet points on this list: email invitation for a tour and a call invitation for a tour or a volunteer activity. So again, think through this from a brand new donor perspective, right? They had their friend Anne say, hey, will you donate? Will you help us out? And I said, yes, I will donate, Anne, because I love you, and food insecurity is definitely a thing that I feel passionately about. So yeah, I'm going to do it. So I'm going to donate. And I don't know a lot about your organization at all. Maybe I've gotten a newsletter at some point. Maybe I took the opportunity to explore your website. Maybe I clicked on a link in an email receipt. Who knows? But regardless, I don't know a ton about your organization. And everything that I do know comes from your website, which is a wonderful source of information. But we all know that we can't capture everything that we do on a website. So a volunteer activity or an event or a tour is a chance to get you in front of someone, or get me in front of someone to talk to you. So it's my opportunity then to ask questions. It's my opportunity to learn and really dig in and find out what impact you're having, what a difference you're making in my part of the world. And oh yeah, they're doing really good work. I want to continue the conversation. I want to continue to support these people. So same thing with a lot of the things that I'm saying. A lot of people are not going to take you up on this. But again, if one or two, if five do, amazing. That's awesome. That'll do a wonderful job of cementing in the impact that you're having with these folks, and hopefully get them to keep coming back and volunteering and donating and doing all of those things. So again, on the fourth one down here, second donation ask, yes, it's actually wonderful to ask for the second gift as long as we thank them. Have to thank them for the first gift. But then the second gift, particularly if we're able to run wealth screening on them through our database, and we can find out, okay, this group of people that are new donors are major donor candidates. So they have donated $5,000 plus gifts to multiple organizations over the last 5 years. We're going to have a different conversation with those people. We're not going to make the second ask in the first 30 days to this group, because we want to spend more time nurturing them, getting to know them, finding out what they're passionate about, talking how they can help to impact their community. But this much larger group over here, they're not major donor candidates. They don't have the capacity for that, but they are excellent monthly giving candidates. They would be great to donate 25, 50, 75, 100, whatever those dollar amounts are every month. We want to find out, by using the wealth screening, we want to find out what their capacity is, segment them out, and then it's a perfectly good idea, while the iron is hot and they still remember having given to you, to go ahead and ask for that second gift. Make sure that you explain why you're asking, all the impact that you're having, the wonderful things that you're doing, and how they can help further that impact. That's all important. But all too long, I feel like most organizations will wait a year. And if you wait that long, a lot of people unfortunately have forgotten. They just don't remember what you're doing and the impact that you're having and all of that. So think through if you're able to ask them a little bit faster, if that's possible. And again, I talked about the recurring donations there. And the reason that we're doing all of this, that we're staying in touch with people, is because it's a lot cheaper to retain donors than it is to go acquire new donors. Need to go acquire donors. With the average peer-to-peer campaign, I think you get like 300 new donors or something like that. That's average across the United States. So maybe you don't get quite that many the first couple of times you do it. It takes a while to grow, but that's wonderful. We need to get those new get those new donors in the door, but also spare some thoughts and some communication for the people who have already said, yeah, I like what you're doing and I want to support you. As you can see here, 5 times more expensive to acquire than it is to renew. So the more that we can communicate with those existing donors, the better off we're going to be. Average donor retention rates, 42% right there in the middle. That's across all donors, not great. And I think if you look at the bucket on the left, that explains why. So 1 out of 5, is that math right? Yeah. 1 out of 5 first-time donors come back and donate again. The really good news is, look at the bucket on the right. That way, sorry, I mirrored. The repeat donors, all we need to do is move them from that first-time donor to the repeat donor bucket, and they're going to come back and keep donating. So that's why this communication that I'm talking about is so important, because we want them to understand the impact that we're having, all of the amazing things that we're doing, so that they'll donate a second time and then keep coming back time after time after that. So why do donors stop giving in the first place? Look at the 4 on the left. Those are heartbreaking. It really boils down to the one on the right, poor service or communication. They don't remember supporting. They didn't know how their donation was being used, never got thanked. All of these are really easily correctable. We need to make sure that we're putting a process in place to thank our donors and keep them informed, because the flip side of this is on the next slide, I believe. Why do donors keep giving? So look at the number 1. Donors perceive organization to be effective. Who is telling them that your organization is effective? You are. You are the only person who's going to tell them that. And if you're not telling them that, you're missing an opportunity to get them to come back and donate again. So look through this list. I think Jen said the slides are going to be available and all of that. A lot of really good information here. Look through this list, but realize that you have to be the one to share your story, why what you're doing is so effective and so impactful, because no one else is going to do it for you. And then you do that through storytelling. So the idea here is that we want to tell compelling stories to our donors to keep them engaged, to keep that impact top of mind, so they know and they remember all of the good things that we're doing. And I would argue that out of this list, out of those 4 things that make up a compelling story, the most important one is number 1. We want characters. So please, please, please be careful with privacy concerns. Don't share people's real names. Make sure that people are anonymous. Whatever you need to do to make sure that you cover your bases with that, please do all of those things. But character is what people are connected to. So when they read about someone who is living through food insecurity, and they read about the impact that that has on the children in that story, and what is happening with their literacy rates or with their grades in school, or however that picture can be painted, that's what people are going to connect with. So make sure, again, keep it anonymous, do what you need to do with all of that, but make sure that in those stories, you're really highlighting compelling characters, because that's what people are going to connect with. That's going to allow you to continue the conversation with them to make sure that they do understand the impact that you're having. And that'll keep them coming back to volunteer, to donate, to attending events, all of the really cool stuff that you're doing. And then, oh, sorry. So practical tips to increase online giving, and think about this through the lens both of your, regular, if you will, online donations, but also then your peer-to-peer campaigns as well. Tell those stories. Make sure that you're giving your donors a lot of opportunities to get involved. And really, when we're thinking about peer-to-peer donations specifically, make sure that they have opportunities to learn more about your organization, because they've heard a little bit from their friend, their family, their coworker, but we want to make sure that we're giving them the opportunity, whether they take it or not, to click on links on your website, to click on links in a receiving email, to learn more about your impact and what you're doing, because they don't know very much at this stage of things. So give them the chance to educate themselves. And ask for recurring gifts, and definitely use segmentation to give meaningful messages. All really good advice. And then I know some of you, and I'm sorry, I haven't been monitoring the questions at all. I get wrapped up. I get really excited about this. But some of you may have asked questions, and we'll certainly do that now. Some of you may not be comfortable asking questions in the chat. You are more than welcome to email me. I'm happy to dialogue with you that way if that would be helpful.
Yeah, thank you so much. Before we get to questions, so folks, drop your questions in the Q&A or into the chat. I took copious notes. I was learning things and getting ideas. We're going to launch a peer-to-peer campaign within the next couple months, and I was making notes on things that we need to make sure we do. So that was amazing. Just as a reminder, our next How to Start a Food Rescue webinar is next week, and we'll be talking about how to get started with food donors. So folks that might be new or thinking about starting a food rescue, that should be a great webinar for you all. And then our next general webinar next month is April 17th, and we will be looking at household food waste, both from the standpoint of how you can reduce food waste in your household, but also how you as a food recovery organization can help your supporters sort of cross that barrier and try to reduce their own food waste footprint. So with that, I'm actually going to stop my screen sharing and we will go to questions. Maybe I'll stop screen sharing. There we go. Stop sharing, the big button that says stop sharing. Okay.
You got it.
Great. So I'm going to go to the Q&A. So the first question I think that you answered is, when is the most appropriate time frame to send a thank you note? And you said fast.
Yeah.
The faster the better.
Faster the better. That's exactly right. It was a real bummer as I gave those 500 donations. It was a real bummer to get a thank you letter so far after I made the gift that I had to go back to my notes and remember, oh yeah, okay, I do remember giving this donation. So if you're doing now, for instance, let's say that you're getting thank you letters out once a month. Can we try to do it twice a month? And if you're getting them out twice a month now, could we try to do it weekly? Are there things that we can do that would speed it up just a tiny little bit if possible? The more impactful and the more quickly you can get it out the door, great. Let's try to do that.
And it seems like if you've got a sort of like discrete campaign, like we're running this peer-to-peer campaign for this week or this month, it might be easier for at least that month to ramp up your thank you cadence so that folks are getting them quickly.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, we've got some more questions in the Q&A. For a peer-to-peer campaign, most donors are donating because their friend or family member asked them to, not necessarily because of the organization or its mission. Right. Even after we do everything right in the follow-up actions, thank you, newsletter, et cetera, is there something additional we can do to convert peer-to-peer donors from being one-time donors to repeat donors?
So a couple of things come to mind. It's a really good question. First of all, I'm going to push back ever so slightly on the idea that that the mission doesn't matter. I'll just speak for myself, but I know on my Facebook page, I have been bombarded with donate to this, and I'm running in this race, and I'm biking here, and all of that. It's a lot. And at first, the novelty was so that I donated to, I don't know if I donated to everybody, but a lot of them. Now at this point, it's kind of like, oh, I don't, that organization doesn't hold a lot of meaning to me. So there, for me personally, and I know from talking with other people too, there's a little kernel there to work with. So I don't know that I would say that they don't care about the mission at all. They need to be informed more about the mission. The other thing that I'll mention is phone calls. Phone calls are amazing. And the example that I'll use, I'll try to tell this story really quickly, is my wife. So my wife is a runner. She runs 5Ks maniacally. She's really good. She ran one at a childhood cancer support organization in Richmond, near where we live. And they called, the development director called Emily a week or whatever after the race was run and just said, hey, really appreciate your donation. Would love to stay in touch with you. They got a really nice conversation going. And this person, the development director, found out that Emily is a literacy coach. And what happened with that is that she stayed in touch. She did everything that we've been talking about, newsletters and all kinds of stuff. I stayed in touch, but also tailored her conversations to Emily and subsequent communications through the lens of literacy, because they happened to be opening like an after school tutoring thing or something. I don't remember the details, but there was something that allowed them to kind of say, hey, we know you're passionate about this, So this is what we're going to talk to you about. We're doing all these other things over here that are awesome and amazing, but we know that you care very much about this. So this is what we're going to focus on. And here's the punchline. We have continued to donate to that childhood cancer group for years at this point. I think the first race she ran in was 8 or 9 years ago. And we continue to donate. We do the peer-to-peer stuff, but we also do just regular. They had a capital campaign a couple of years ago. We donated to that. We've done annual giving and all kinds of stuff. So phone calls, phone calls, phone calls. If you have the time and the bandwidth, I would strongly encourage you to throw those into the mix.
Yeah, that's amazing. What is the best way to talk about transitioning from volunteer to donor? Rightly so, time is valuable and giving as a volunteer is valuable. What do we say to help show their impact can be even more with a donation when they're already giving time?
So a little bit of an overlap with the last thing, right? Find out what it is that they're passionate about. So what is there some area that they go and volunteer at every single time that they clearly are excited about? If so, let's talk about that. Hey, Joe, I know that you come in and you volunteer with this every time. You clearly care about it a great deal. We are looking for some financial support as well as the incredibly generous time support that you've given us. Here's what would happen with $100, $500, whatever, whatever levels you want to put in there. So make sure that you thank them for their time because as you said, and sorry, I forgot the name of the questioner, I apologize, but as you said in your question, time is money. So they are already donating to you. This is just a different kind of donation in addition that will, as you said in your question, will go even further in a maybe slightly different direction.
We have some questions in the chat. Is a handwritten note more appreciated than a typed thank you note?
Yes, 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 yes. Always. If you have the bandwidth to do that, amazing. I actually saved, I cleaned my desk up a week ago, or I'd pull it out and show you. I saved a handful of the handwritten thank you notes that I got from those 500 donations. I would get postcards completely handwritten. That's awesome. If you don't have time to do that, totally get it. Print up a thank you letter and just add on a little handwritten note at the bottom. And that's incredibly impactful. That's the first thing your eyes go to when you get a letter like that. So
Yeah.
yes, 100%.
Awesome. Are there other questions? I think somebody asked if you'll get this, if we're going to send out the slides. We will send out the slides.
Nice.
Are there other questions? Don't know that I see any. I will babble for a minute to give you a chance to type something out if you have a question and you haven't dropped it in yet. Like I said, I was taking notes. I think this is really great. I think the idea of following up on a peer-to-peer with a specific communication, recognizing that they came in through a different channel and might need some education about how they can volunteer or do other things for the org is a really great idea. I definitely will certainly be including that in our upcoming peer-to-peer. Okay, I don't know that I see any other questions. We're going to go say going once, going twice for the opportunity to ask a question. Thank you everybody for showing up today. This was a wonderful webinar. Thank you, James, for participating. We will get this email, the link and deck emailed out to folks within a couple of days. Usually it takes a day or two for it to download, but you can be on the lookout for that. And then it'll also be up on our website if you want to go back and watch it or share it with anybody. They're easy to show folks if there's somebody else in your org that needs to see it. So thank you, everyone, and I hope to see you all next month or next week, actually. All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.